Hey guys, it's Sam. Today's video is all about my new Hobonichi users out there. It seems to me like every year more and more people are kind of running towards the Japanese style of planning. I believe that the reason for that is because it's such a phenomenal system. However, if this is you for the first time this year, purchasing items to begin your Hobonichi journey for 2019, I have a couple of tips for you, especially if you're coming from some of the other planning systems that are really popular out there, like the Happy Planner and Erin Condren, Filofax, Rings, things like that. So hopefully these 5 tips that I've come up with will help you have a more smooth transition with your planning style. The first tip that I have is going to be to embrace the differences in the Japanese way of planning. The Japanese system is all about being streamlined and simplified, whereas other planners that you see out there, they get more decorative every year. They add so many things, so many colors. If you really just kind of look at the pages of a Japanese planner, you see a lot of black and white, or in the case of a Hobonichi Weeks, a cream and white. And so kind of opening it the first time, coming from the kind of style that you may be familiar with, it's going to kind of seem a little sterile. Maybe even you're feeling overwhelmed with that there's nothing already done for you. The usual way of today's planners is they've kind of already decided for you what your planner is going to look like, and you simply add more stickers and some writing, and this is just blank. That can be difficult at first, but I promise that if you give it a chance, you'll understand that it's worth it, because it becomes completely unique to you. The other differences that I think are the most important to kind of mention for people that are coming from different planning systems is that it's going to be much smaller, and the shape and size are very different from what you would be used to. I'm assuming that you come from, the popular Filofax, Erin Condren, Happy Planner, that kind of thing. This little book is very, very tiny. And even though this one has a different shape, it's still very small. Even the largest of the planning systems that Hobonichi has to offer, the cousin, is still much smaller than an Erin Condren planner. So just making sure that you understand how different these sizes is, and kind of wrap your head around how different your planning is going to become when using these systems, I think are going to help you have a smoother transition. My second tip for new Hobonichi users is going to be to get to know the paper. So the Tomoe River paper is very different from any paper that you will have experienced. We have lower quality paper in some planners have thicker paper, and it seems like there's been a fight for who can get the nicest, thickest pages. So to go from thick paper to very thin paper is kind of something that's a little difficult to get used to, especially if you weren't expecting that. The thin size comes from the fact that this special paper is used. Now, it behaves differently than any paper out there that I have ever encountered. It's very thin, there is no bulk. This special paper is very thin but is coated so that it reacts to pens differently. You can use markers, you can use watercolors, and it doesn't bleed through. Most things does not bleed through this paper. I would not use a permanent Sharpie, but I haven't encountered anything that this paper can't hold up to. But that being said, the special coating that is in this paper is going to behave differently, especially with gel pens. So if you're a gel pen person like me, your pen is going to behave much differently than it does on regular paper. That was something that was the hardest for me to get used to. the gel ink of my preference kind of stays above the paper, takes a little longer to dry, can smear very easily, and just the smooth consistency of this paper, I kind of feel like I don't have as much control over the pens that I'm using. So the pens were definitely a struggle for me. It's actually what kept me out of the planner the longest, but I loved the system so much that I decided I was going to have to use it even if I didn't love the way my pen behaved as much. So experiment with pens. If you get your Hobonichi in, go to one of the back pages and kind of set pages aside and just use it to experiment. Write all over those pages, find the pen that you think is the most comfortable on the paper to you, that you feel like makes your handwriting look the best, and then kind of try to stick with that pen. I have several different pens that I really like in this paper, and I kind of rotate out between them. Tip number 3 is to develop your own style. So if you just look at the hashtag on Instagram for Hobonichi, you're gonna see so many different styles. In the native Japanese language, you will see the most beautiful hand-drawn characters. I think that the Japanese language is just so beautiful in these planners. But you'll also, of course, find other people from other places that have their own spin on things, and like nobody's page looks the same. So you might have someone who's using all pen, you may have someone who's using stickers, bits and pieces of, you know, things from their day that fill up the pages. But like, there isn't like, oh, this is a Hobonichi Weeks, so you obviously are gonna have a planner that looks like this. Or you're using a Hobonichi A6, so of course all of the pages are gonna look like this. If you look at like the Happy Planner or Erin Condren community and follow their hashtags, you basically see a lot of planners that, for the most part, in my opinion, and not saying anything negative about it, they kind of look the same. You're like, oh yes, you're gonna see some sticker kits, and you're gonna have a lot of people who are using vertical layouts, and everything kind of looks the same. But Hobonichi seems to have users that just have their own spin on what they want their planners to be and how they want their planners to look, and you can see people's own personal styles within them, but it's going to be completely different than that of their neighbor. If you hand letter, fill your book with hand lettering. If you draw, you know, you're an artist, fill your pages with art. Junk it up, use a pen only, use your beloved stickers. I do, and I love it. So not every week looks the same for me. It kind of depends on where I am in my life. Some weeks are pen only, but weeks that I have more time to sit down, I fill it with stickers, and I think that that makes my planner fun, and I'm excited to open it. Tip number 4 would be to try different layouts. So if you're coming from like an Erin Condren or Happy Planner and you're going to the Hobonichi Weeks, this is really different. This is very similar to the style that I had in my personal planner, but I will admit that the shape of the Hobonichi Weeks was difficult for me to wrap my head around. It's basically like an elongated checkbook shape, you know, so you have that rectangle, and I always thought of a checkbook when I saw it. It has the planning style that I love, and this is the same planning style that I used when I was in personal rings, but the shape is just so much different. If you are not the kind of person who likes to horizontal plan, don't just automatically assume that the Hobonichi is then out for you. The Hobonichi has some little dots here, and actually if you draw lines, you could plan vertically, having 3 separate columns for your day. You also have some kind of cheater lines here that you can follow, which I do. I use this little tiny square here, and I put my weather there every week. But if that's not what your mind is saying that you want to do, these are so light that they can easily be ignored. Draw new lines, and you make the layout that works best for you. Some days, even though this is a small planner, I don't have a lot of words to say, so filling up your page with washi or drawings or stickers or something to kind of fill up the day that pop of color, just showing that you had something to say or give to that day in your planner is going to bring a smile to your face when you look back through. So if this layout kind of stresses you out, change it, you know, do something different. It doesn't have to be exactly what is here if that's not what's going to work for you. So don't be afraid to try something different. My fifth and last tip is to give it time. For me, when I first tried a Hobonichi, I mean, I had started seeing about 5 years ago these planners becoming more popular. I was coming from a place of the Erin Condren planner and Filofax rings. And I was like, you know, this is a really genius idea, but I got it in and it like instantly terrified me. And I was like, how can everybody love this tiny little book so much? And I sold it pretty quickly. The next year, I couldn't stop thinking about it and ordered another one, and I ordered a Hobonichi Weeks. Again, I didn't love it immediately. I felt kind of weird coming from the systems that I had loved and enjoyed, and I sold them. I think that the third year, I kept the A6, did not keep a Weeks, but I wasn't really consistent in my A6. Then I tried the Hobonichi Weeks again and kind of played around in it, but didn't stay with it. Stayed with the A6, was more consistent, but still not as consistent as I wanted to be. And then this year I got the Hobonichi Weeks and the A6, and I've stayed really consistent in my A6. I tried 1 week of January and I was like, I don't know, going back to the Filofax or a Happy Planner or something. And then in February, I decided I was going to give the Hobonichi Weeks 1 month. And I was going to try it no matter what and just stick through it. If I didn't love a pen, I was going to try different ones. If I didn't love the layout because I was used to something wider, I was just going to make it work. And after that month was up, I was like, how could I have not loved this planner all along? So for me, it was just consistency and making myself work in it. And after that, I was like, this is the planning system that I've wanted for so long, and I have tossed it to the side and ignored it, and here it was just waiting for me the whole time. So if you love it as soon as you get it, I'm really happy for you, and I'm glad that you haven't had to go through the struggles that I did. But if you don't love it in that first week, maybe use pencil and give it a try. And then if it's not for you and you feel like you need to part with it, you can erase it and you can sell it to someone. But I would say to really give it some time. It's so different, especially if you're coming from the other planning systems, that I think that you kind of just have to give your mind time to wrap around like really how much different the systems are. But I think the Hobonichi planning system, whether it be the Weeks or the A6 or the Cousin, they're just phenomenal planning and journaling and diary products. And if you haven't tried them yet, I definitely suggest that you do. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. I promise I will get back to you. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.